This simple scalping strategy has kept me profitable over the last 7 years, and it's helped me to go from a losing trader to making over $100,000 every single month from trading. And in this video, I'm showing you the exact setup, entry rules, risk plan, and real chart examples so you don't have to waste any more time on those complicated ICT strategies that take months to learn. Let's get right into it. Before anything, let me show you what this setup looks like. All it is just a simple key level momentum breakout. So let's start by looking at a trade that I took the other day. This is Shopify. And the way that I trade options, I trade the momentum breakout. So we entered once it broke this 150 key level on the 1 minute time frame. Our risk was the low of this candle, as you guys can see, very small compared to our gain. And our sell all out was at 156 area, and my full ROI on this was a 1 to 7 risk to reward, which is insane. And I know this probably all sounds confusing if you've never heard these words before. So let's back up. How did I even know where to take this trade? It all starts with key levels. Key levels are those blue lines you see on my chart, and these are the base of every one of my trades. And all they are is just areas on the chart that price reacted at previously. And the best part is they're easy to find. Let me show you how I found this one. Now, how exactly did I find this key level? So I went to the 1 hour time frame, and that's how I find all of my key levels. And we saw that Shopify had earnings. So it had this huge run up, and we got the reaction right there. As you guys can see, we reacted at that 150 level, had a nice little pullback right here. And then buyers came in very nicely around those 144, 143 level, and then shot all the way up here. Buyers were able to hold in this area, which they weren't able to previously. And then we were able to take that breakout of that 150 key level. But it's all about reactions on the 1 hour time frame. The more, the better. But once I find my key levels, I still have to wait for two things in order for me to enter a position. And the first thing is I need to wait for price action to look good. Now, all price action is reading what the shapes and sizes of these candles are telling you. Now, reading previous price action is very, very important. This will decide if we're going to take a trade, if we're not going to take a trade, and what we can expect when we're about to take a trade. This is very important, and this helps increase our win rate and decrease the fake outs. Now, as you guys can see, we got the reactions near that 150 level. That was the next key level, which is 150. So we start to come up, and we're starting to slow down at that 150 area because there was such a huge wall at that 150 area on Shopify. And then we started coming down. Once market opened, we had this huge run up into that 150 key level. Now, previously, you guys could see that we kind of have a support zone right here, kind of made a little zone right here. And when sellers got it under this zone, buyers were able to bring it right back above there right before market opens and retested it, holding that zone. And buyers were aggressively buying as we're bouncing off this zone. And we were able to break through every single level, 146, 147, 148, 149. It was going crazy. And we came all the way up to this high right here. Now, when I'm looking at price action, right, we see this high right here. We saw this is a turning point for the buyers, right? These sellers were able to take it right back down at this 149 area, right? Around 149.31. So I'm very, very attentive what the buyers are doing at that price level again. And since we came up aggressively, we could easily come right back down. So I'm really just watching to see what the buyers are doing in this area. You guys can see we tested that 150 area and then came right back in this little pocket right here and then shot up. So what the buyers were doing at this candle right here, they were aggressively buying. The bids were coming up, the ask was coming up, everything was looking really good versus previously, the buyers weren't as strong after this 149 and they weren't as strong after this, but this was a $5 move, so it's justified that it could have a little tiny pullback like that. But the next candle really allowed us to enter this trade because we bounced off this 149 zone, came up, buyers were going crazy, and that's when we were able to enter for a very high probability trade. And once price action looks good leading up to a key level, I wait for one more thing to happen, and that's momentum on the time and sales. Now, the reason why I don't use any indicators is because I use something called time and sales. And time and sales shows us orders real time. Orders being executed real time. Now ask yourself this. How does stocks move? Buyers and sellers. So if we could see what the buyers and sellers are doing real time, if we can make a strategy around that, we could be pretty profitable, right? And we could time these moves really, really well. And that's exactly what the time and sales does. I'm seeing those orders being executed real time, and I don't need any indicators. My chart literally looks like this because all I need is the order flow coming in real time. And then we extract the data from that, read that correctly, and we get really nice entries, really nice exits, and a really nice risk reward because our entries are going to be really nice. But how do I use it in a trade? So how do I use the time and sales, right? I'm going to show you guys an example, but first let me explain how I use this. When we're about to take an upside breakout, like this 192 to the upside right here, what I'm looking for is aggression and velocity. I want the buyers to keep paying more for it, which is increasing that bid up. And I also want people to not sell it for less. I want them to be able to sell it for more. I want them to sell it for more, which means the ask is coming up. The market is an auction, right? So as we're coming up to that 192, I want to make sure that both of those are following, which is this side right here and this side right here. And I also want to make sure that I see an increase in velocity. I want to make sure not only are there orders being there, but I want to make sure there's a ton of orders being there at that 192 level. So it's velocity and the aggression. How fast we're breaking every 10 cents. So 90s, zeros, 10s, 20s, 30s, 40s. I don't want to be stuck anywhere, especially if we're about to take this upside breakout. I want you guys to watch the velocity, and I also want you guys to watch the aggressiveness. We're in the 90s. Right now we're in the 10s, 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. Aggressiveness. Right? See the pacing of my voice. I was slow and then I start going up, right? 10s, 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s. That's what I want to see going into a key level, because not only is the aggressiveness there, but the velocity is also there, because we want to make sure that there's a ton of buyers about to break this level. And then watch. We break it, 10s, 20s, 30s. We're in the 30s, right? We have this breakout. We're already up like 50 cents so far from the original spike of momentum. We're kind of chilling there a little bit, stuck in the 30s, but we're holding 30s, right? This is what I'm watching on the time and sales. I want to see us hold 30s. Now, another thing that I'm watching for is just a pullback at that 192 area, because that's what price action usually does, right? It could keep going, or if it wants to pull back potentially to this area right here. But I'm going to see on the bid what it's doing at 192. Is it holding it? Is it going to break it and then come right back above? I want to see how these buyers are going to be able to handle people taking profits, because after a very nice move like that, people are going to start taking profits, and that's how we're able to identify whether to stay in the trade or not. We're in the 50s, 30s, and pullbacks are normal, right? What we're looking for on the bid is to see what the buyers are doing. Are they able to hold the 192 level? Are they dropping it under? What are we doing here? And you guys can see that for a second. See how the bid is holding that 192? We have never dropped under 192. So we took the breakout of that 192 level. It came back, retested it, holding very well on the bid. The ask is around 7 cents. So it's kind of holding the upper highs of that. Now, the next thing I want to see is get back above the 10s on the ask. The bid never break under 192. And the bid get back into 192, 10s, 20s, etc. And look at that. Very nice aggressive bounce. Buyers are there. They're able to hold it. We're testing it again, holding it again really well. Looks great. Red to green almost. Red to green. 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. Aggressiveness. That's what I like to see. This is where I would start to take some profits off, right? Our risk to reward is insane. Our stop loss could have been this 80s right here, right? A 20-cent stop, and it's up 80 cents, right? That's a 1 to 4 already. But you wouldn't be able to get that nice of a risk to reward. You wouldn't be able to get that nice of an entry without the time and sales. This is why time and sales is perfect with this, and just taking profits, because we saw that it was starting to slow down in the 50s. So once we got that aggressiveness over that previous slow hump right there, that's where I'm gonna start taking some off, or maybe that next key level of that 193. Here is another example of a trade that I took. Now we have this nice aggressive move to the upside, getting to this 573 key level. What I want to see is a reaction coming down to around this area right here, which was that previous high a day, and then a continuation, just because it is starting to slow down here, which means that it's extended and we have a higher probability of a rejection here and then a continuation. And then, as you guys can see, we came down. My stop loss is going to be right at the low of this previous candle. And then what I'm looking for on the time and sales is aggression and velocity. So I want to make sure that we get that speed up you guys just saw. And then we also went from 80s to 90s and then right into that 573. You guys can see we're just stuck in the 80s. It's super slow compared to what it was just showing. Look at this. Look how slow this is. Slow. I can read every single number. And then we have this aggression, right? 80s, 90s. Look at that. The candle didn't even populate fast enough. This is why I look at the time of sales, because it shows me real-time data even before your chart. Look at that. I literally just proved that actually. Like we're already at 573 and then it just jumps up like that. It's so delayed. We're in the 80s and 90s and then 573. Look how fast that was. Watch this, right? Slow and then fast. Boom, boom, boom. Before the chart even showed. And then we want to make sure that it continues to keep going. So we want to see the velocity and then the aggression. We want to see bids hold 10s and then ask go to 20s and then 20s hold on the ask and then we had the 20s on the bid. And look at this, right? We're in 10s and they were in 20s. Once you start to slow down, we saw it slowing down in 30s right here. We're gonna take some off and then we make a new high. There we go, because that's where it's starting to slow down before in those 30s area. So then once we made that new high, that's where we start taking some off just because it is starting to slow down. As we can see, stop loss is gonna be break even on this trade because we already had a nice move there. And then we just wait for either a nice like a little pullback and a continuation, new high, whatever we can get. And then look at this, right? Stop loss break even, and that's it. Look at that. Like easy scalp right there. It's not a crazy scalp, but it's just a nice scalp. That's it. That's literally all you need. Now you know my whole strategy I've been using every day for the last 7 years. And if you want to ask me any questions or are interested in learning more, you can join my free Discord link below. Thank you guys for watching.